Let me tell you about the most expensive way to be alive, being poor. You've heard the explanations. Poor people are poor because they make bad decisions. They don't save, they don't plan, they buy things they can't afford. If they just budgeted better, worked harder, made smarter choices, they'd escape poverty. It's a comforting story. It puts the blame on individuals. It suggests the solution is simple: just be better with money. It's also almost entirely wrong. Being poor is expensive, not metaphorically expensive, literally expensive. Poor people pay more for the same goods and services than wealthy people. They pay fees the wealthy never see. They face costs the wealthy never encounter. The system isn't neutral. It's not even passively unfair. It actively extracts money from people who have the least. Every interaction with the economy costs more when you're poor. Today, I'm going to show you the poverty tax, the specific mechanisms that drain money from poor people and transfer it upward. The fees, the rates, the costs, the structures that make poverty a trap rather than a temporary condition. By the end, you'll understand why escaping poverty isn't about making better choices. It's about being allowed to stop paying the tax on being poor. 1. The banking extraction. Let's start with something basic: having a bank account. If you have money, a bank account is free. Better than free, they pay you interest. They want your deposits. If you don't have money, a bank account is a trap. Overdraft fees. The average overdraft fee is around $35 for a transaction that might be $5. Here's how the trap works. Your balance is $50. You have three small transactions: $20, $15, $25, total $60. You're $10 short. The bank could decline the transactions. Instead, they process them and charge you $35 each. That $10 shortfall becomes $105 in fees. American banks collected $7.7 billion in overdraft fees in a recent year. This money came almost entirely from the poorest customers. The wealthy don't overdraft. Minimum balance fees. Many accounts charge monthly fees if your balance falls below a threshold. If you can't afford to keep $1,500 in your account, you pay $12 a month for the privilege of having less money. That's $144 a year for being poor. Check cashing fees. If you don't have a bank account, cashing your paycheck costs 2 to 5% at a check cashing store. On a $1,000 paycheck, that's $20, $50 gone before you've bought anything. Over a year of bi-weekly paychecks, you've lost $500, $1,300 just to access money you earned. The wealthy earn interest on their deposits. The poor pay fees on theirs. Same banks. Opposite experiences. 2. The credit trap. Poor people need to borrow. Emergencies happen, cars break down, medical bills arrive. The timing of income and expenses doesn't always align. But borrowing while poor is catastrophically expensive. Payday loans. The typical payday loan charges $15, $30 per $100 borrowed for 2 weeks. That sounds almost reasonable. Do the math. That's 400 to 800% annual percentage rate. Borrow $300 to fix your car. In 2 weeks, you owe $345, $390. Can't pay it back? Roll it over. Now you owe fees on the larger amount. Alvers. The average payday loan borrower takes out 8 loans per year and pays $520 in fees to repeatedly borrow $375. They end up paying more in fees than they borrowed. Car title loans. Similar structure. Use your car as collateral. Interest rates of 100 to 300% annually. Miss a payment? Lose your car. Now you can't get to work. Rent to own. Need a refrigerator but can't afford one? Rent to own lets you pay $20 a week for a year. Total cost: over $1,000 for a refrigerator that costs $400 at a regular store. Credit cards for subprime borrowers. If you can get a credit card with poor credit, expect interest rates of 25-30%. Annual fees of $50, $100. Late fees of $35, $40. The wealthy get credit cards with 0% introductory rates, cashback rewards, and no annual fees. Same banks, opposite products. 3. The housing premium. Housing costs more when you're poor. Much more. Rent versus buy. Buying a home builds equity. Renting builds nothing. Over 30 years, the homeowner accumulates hundreds of thousands in wealth. The renter accumulates nothing. But buying requires a down payment, closing costs, good credit, stable income documentation, everything that being poor makes impossible. So the poor rent. often paying more monthly than a mortgage would cost, building nothing. Security deposits and fees. Renting while poor means deposits. First month, last month, security deposit. That's 3 months rent up front. Where does someone living paycheck to paycheck get that? From a payday loan at 400% interest. Application fees, background check fees, pet deposits, move-in fees. The process of getting housing extracts hundreds before you've paid $1 in rent. Worse housing for more money. Low-income areas have less rental competition, but landlords know tenants have few options. The apartment is worse, the rent isn't lower. Heating bills are higher because the insulation is poor. The landlord doesn't fix things. The appliances are inefficient. The location requires a car because there's no public transit. The poor pay more for less because they have no negotiating power. The address penalty. Your address affects your insurance rates, your shipping costs, your access to services. Living in a poor neighborhood costs money in ways that aren't visible until you try to live there. 4. The transportation tax. Getting to work costs more when you're poor. Car ownership when poor. The wealthy buy new cars with warranties and low interest rates. When something breaks, the warranty covers it. The poor buy used cars with cash or predatory financing. No warranty. When something breaks, they pay out of pocket or lose their transportation. A $2,000 used car that needs $3,000 in repairs over 2 years costs more than a $15,000 new car with a warranty. But you can't finance $15,000 without credit. Insurance costs. Car insurance is priced by geography, credit score, and vehicle age. Poor people lose on all three. Living in a low-income zip code raises rates. Having poor credit raises rates. Driving an older car raises rates, paradoxically, because repairs cost more when you're underinsured. The poor pay twice as much for car insurance as the wealthy for identical driving records. No car, worse options. Without a car, you're dependent on public transit. In most American cities, that means limited routes, infrequent service, and multi-hour commutes. Jobs requiring odd hours or locations become inaccessible. You can't take the job that pays more if you can't get there. Or you use rideshare services, which cost far more than car ownership for regular commuting. A month of Uber to work might cost $400, $600 more than a car payment plus insurance. 5. The food desert reality. Eating costs more when you're poor. Food deserts. Low-income neighborhoods have fewer grocery stores. The ones that exist are smaller, with less selection and higher prices. Fresh produce is limited. Healthy options are expensive or unavailable. What's cheap is processed, calorie-dense, and nutritionally poor. The wealthy live near well-stocked grocery stores with competitive prices. They buy in bulk. They have storage space. Buying in bulk is for the wealthy. A 24-pack of toilet paper costs less per roll than a 4-pack. A large container of rice costs less per pound than a small one. Buying in bulk saves money. But bulk buying requires cash up front that the poor don't have. It requires storage space that small apartments lack. It requires transportation to carry large purchases. So the poor buy small quantities at higher unit prices. The same product costs more because you're buying it poor. No time to cook. Cooking from scratch is cheaper than prepared food, but it requires time. When you're working multiple jobs, commuting on unreliable transit, dealing with the constant crises of poverty, you don't have time. You buy the fast food that's available, quick, and expensive per calorie of nutrition. The wealthy have time or can pay someone to cook. The poor have neither. 6. The healthcare catastrophe. Being poor makes you sick. Being sick keeps you poor. No insurance or bad insurance. Poor people who don't qualify for Medicaid but can't afford good insurance end up with high deductible plans or nothing. With a $5,000 deductible, you pay full price for everything up to that amount. A single emergency room visit can cost more than a month's income. So you don't go, you ignore symptoms, you let treatable conditions become serious. The emergency room trap. Without a regular doctor, the emergency room becomes primary care. ERs can't turn you away. They're also the most expensive possible care. A condition that costs $100 to treat at a clinic costs $1,000 to treat at an ER. But the ER is the only option when you don't have $100 for the clinic, and there's no clinic anyway. Medical debt. Medical bills are the leading cause of bankruptcy in America. Hospital billing departments offer payment plans, but for the uninsured, the total bill is inflated because they don't get negotiated insurance rates. The poor pay the highest prices for medical care, then they can't pay those prices, then the debt destroys their credit, then everything else becomes more expensive. 7. The fine print economy. Every form has a fee when you're poor. Late fees. Rent late fee, $50, $100. Utility late fee, $25, $50. Credit card late fee, $35, $40. Car payment late fee, $25, $50. When you're juggling which bill to pay this week, something's always late. Every late payment is a tax on insufficient cash flow. Reconnection fees. Electricity cut off for non-payment? Pay the past due balance plus a reconnection fee of $50, $150. Water? Similar. Phone? Similar. The penalty for running out of money is paying more money. Prepaid everything. Poor people can't get postpaid phone plans. They use prepaid, which costs more per minute and per gigabyte. Poor people can't get regular utilities in some cases. They use prepaid meters, which charge higher rates. Poor people can't get regular banking. They use prepaid debit cards, which charge fees for everything. The prepaid economy is designed to extract maximum fees from people with no other options. Court fines and fees. Traffic ticket. The wealthy pay it immediately. The poor can't. Late fees accrue. Miss a court date because you couldn't get off work? Warrant issued. Now there's a warrant fee. Arrested? Bail costs money. Can't make bail? Lose your job. Can't pay the fines? Jail time. A $200 ticket becomes $2,000 in fines, fees, and lost income. The wealthy pay $200. The poor pay everything they have. 8. The time tax. Time is money. The poor have less of both. Waiting. Social services require waiting. Hours at the welfare office. Hours on the phone with Medicaid. Hours at the DMV because you can't do things online without a computer. This is time not spent working, not spent with family, not spent on anything productive. The wealthy hire people to wait for them or use services that don't require waiting. Unreliable services. When your car might break down, you leave early. When the bus might be late, you leave earlier. When the check might not clear, you have to check your balance constantly. Managing unreliability takes time. The wealthy have reliable cars, reliable transit options, and reliable bank accounts. They don't spend hours managing uncertainty. Multiple jobs. To make ends meet, many poor people work multiple jobs. The commute between jobs takes time. Managing multiple schedules takes time. There's no paid time off, so any errand requires unpaid time. A wealthy person earns enough in one job with paid leave for appointments. A poor person works twice the hours and still earns less. 9. The mental load. Poverty is cognitively exhausting. Research shows that financial scarcity consumes mental bandwidth. The constant calculation, which bill to pay, how to stretch $50 through the week, what to do if the car breaks down, leaves less cognitive capacity for everything else. A famous study found that farmers performed significantly worse on cognitive tests before harvest, when cash was tight, than after harvest, when they'd been paid. Same people. Different financial stress. Different cognitive function. This isn't a moral failing. It's a predictable effect of scarcity on the human brain. The wealthy don't spend mental energy on whether they can afford groceries. That energy goes to advancement, education, planning for the future. The poor spend that energy on survival. There's nothing left for advancement. And then we blame them for not planning better. 10. The credentialing barrier. The exits from poverty are guarded by costs. Education. A degree helps you earn more, but degrees cost money. Community college isn't free. Books cost hundreds. The time spent in class is time not spent earning. Student loans are available, but for the poor, dropping out is more likely because of work demands, family obligations, or running out of money. Now you have debt and no degree. Licensing. Many better paying jobs require licenses, cosmetology licenses, nursing certifications, commercial driver's licenses. These cost hundreds or thousands in training, testing, and fees. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't save for the license that would get you a better paycheck. Work equipment. Many jobs require you to provide your own tools, uniforms, transportation, or equipment. If you don't have the upfront cash for steel-toed boots, you can't take the construction job. The wealthy can invest in credentials. The poor can't afford the investment that would help them stop being poor. 11. The trap mechanics. Now you see how the trap works. Being poor costs money. Every interaction with the economy extracts more from those who have less. These extractions keep you poor. You can't save because fees eat your margin. You can't invest in improvement because you're paying the poverty premium. You can't build a cushion because emergencies keep hitting. The trap isn't about character, it's about cash flow. Give a poor person a $5,000 cushion and many of these costs disappear. No overdraft fees because you have a buffer. No payday loans because you can handle the emergency. No late fees because you can pay on time. But without the cushion, every shock cascades. The car repair leads to a payday loan, leads to default, leads to worse credit, leads to higher costs, leads to less ability to build a cushion. The wealthy live with cushions, they pay less for everything, the savings compound, they get wealthier. The poor live without cushions, they pay more for everything, the costs compound, they stay poor. 12. What would change it? The poverty trap can be broken. Here's what it would take. Basic banking. Postal banking or public banking options that don't charge fees to maintain an account. Many countries have this. Rate caps. Limits on payday loan interest rates. Some states have implemented these. The loans become less predatory or disappear, pushing people toward less extractive options. Direct cash assistance. Just giving poor people money. It sounds radical, but the evidence from cash transfer programs worldwide is that people use it reasonably. They don't blow it on vices. They pay down debt, handle emergencies, and stabilize. Eliminating fines and fees. Traffic tickets based on income, as in Finland. Elimination of fees for court appearances, license renewals, and other government services. The government shouldn't profit from poverty. Universal health care. Medical expenses wouldn't bankrupt people. Preventive care would be accessible. One of the biggest poverty traps would close. Housing first. Stable housing allows everything else to stabilize. Programs that prioritize housing for the homeless show dramatic improvements in all other life outcomes. None of this is utopian. Other countries have done all of it. The poverty trap isn't a law of nature, it's a policy choice. Conclusion. The invisible tax. Everything I've described is legal. The banks can charge overdraft fees. The payday lenders can charge 400% interest. The landlords can require 3 months up front. The insurance companies can charge more for poor zip codes. It's all permitted. It's all normal. It's how the system works. And it works to keep poor people poor. The poverty tax extracts from those who have the least. It transfers wealth upward. It punishes people for circumstances often beyond their control. When someone escapes poverty, we celebrate their individual achievement. We should. It's genuinely hard. But we should also ask, why did they have to pay so much more than everyone else for the same life? Why did the system extract from them at every turn? Why is the climb so much steeper when you start at the bottom? The poor don't stay poor because they make bad decisions. Many make remarkably good decisions given impossible constraints. They stay poor because being poor is expensive, because the system charges them more for everything, because the poverty tax takes what little they have. Understanding this changes what solutions look like. It's not about teaching financial literacy to people who understand their finances better than anyone. It's about changing the systems that extract from them. The poverty tax is real, and until we eliminate it, we're not serious about poverty. If this showed you something you hadn't seen before, hit that subscribe button, because understanding how systems work is the first step to changing them. See you in the comments. And remember, the most expensive thing in America isn't luxury, it's being unable to afford anything else.